Adrian lived in a world of silence, metal, and forgotten dreams. His workshop sat at the end of a quiet street, a place time seemed to forget, just like him. Once, he had been a promising inventor, full of fire and ambition. But heartbreak and betrayal had dimmed that light. Now he spent his days fixing broken coffee machines, toasters, and gadgets that others had given up on, much like people had given up on him. The rain poured steadily that morning. He sat hunched over a broken espresso machine, its screws scattered like tiny silver memories. The only sound was the ticking of the wall clock and the gentle rhythm of rain on the roof. Then suddenly, the sharp jingle of the workshop doorbell broke the quiet. Without looking up, he muttered, "We're open." A soft voice replied, "I was told you fix rare espresso machines?" Adrian finally looked up and froze. Standing in the doorway was a woman, drenched from the rain, holding a vintage La Pavoni espresso machine in her arms. Her dark hair clung to her cheeks, and her eyes held something he hadn't seen in a long time: warmth. Real, unguarded warmth. "I do," he said simply. "Leave it on the table." But instead of placing it down and leaving, she stepped further in. "I'd like to help fix it. I'm a mechanic too." He stared at her, confused. People didn't usually offer to help. They dropped off their broken things and left. Just like life had dropped him and walked away. She extended a hand. "I'm Ivy." He hesitated, then shook her hand. "Adrian." And just like that, the air shifted. They worked side by side, surrounded by the smell of oil, damp clothes, and faint hints of burnt coffee. She was curious, observant, full of questions, not just about the machine, but about his tools, his process, even the songs he had playing quietly in the background. At first, he gave short answers, but as the hours passed, he found himself talking more. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the way she listened, or maybe it was because she never looked at him with pity, only with quiet interest. She told him she had left her hometown 2 years ago, that she used to fix cars, then bikes, now appliances. That fixing things gave her peace, even if people never stayed fixed. Adrian felt that truth in his bones. Machines were honest. People were not. By late afternoon, the espresso machine hissed back to life. Ivy laughed into light, her eyes lighting up as steam puffed out triumphantly. Adrian couldn't help but smile, really smile, for the first time in years. "You're not as cold as you look," she teased gently. "And you're more stubborn than most people I've met," he replied. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. But inside that small workshop, something far more important had started to stir. Hope, and perhaps something even deeper. The days after Ivy's visit felt different, lighter, somehow. Adrian didn't realize it at first, but he found himself waiting for the sound of the bell above the workshop door, hoping it would ring again. And 3 days later, it did. Ivy walked in with 2 cups of coffee and a smile that felt like sunlight cutting through fog. "I figured we made it work, so we might as well taste the victory," she said, handing him a cup. They sat near the workbench, sipping espresso from the very machine they had fixed together. The warmth of the drink was nothing compared to the warmth between them, unspoken, unexpected, but growing with every conversation. Soon, she started dropping by regularly, sometimes with machines, sometimes with excuses, and sometimes with nothing at all. Adrian didn't ask questions, he just let her in. And slowly, she filled the silence in his life with laughter, with stories, with a gentle stubbornness that dared him to come back to life. They repaired old gadgets together, but unknowingly, they were also repairing each other. One rainy evening, as they worked on an old record player, Ivy paused. "Do you ever think," she asked softly, "that some people come into your life just to remind you what it feels like to feel again?" Adrian looked at her, tools in hand, heart in disarray. I think some people come into your life to stay, even if they don't know it yet. She didn't answer, but she smiled, and that smile said everything. Later that night, when she finally stood to leave, she hesitated at the door. I used to think I was only good at fixing things, she said. Not people, especially not myself. Adrian stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. Then maybe it took someone else who was broken to show you were never broken at all. Tears shimmered in her eyes, and before either of them could think twice, he leaned in, hesitant at first, like someone reaching for something fragile, and kissed her. It wasn't fiery or rushed. It was soft, healing, real. When they pulled apart, Ivy whispered, "You fixed more than my machine, Adrian. You fixed a part of me I thought was gone forever." He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You brought me back to life." And in that quiet workshop, once filled only with broken machines and lonely silences, love bloomed like light through a dusty window. They weren't perfect. They were scarred, cautious, still learning. But they were willing. Because sometimes, healing doesn't come from being alone. Sometimes, it walks in on a rainy day, holding a broken espresso machine, and leaves with a piece of your heart. And in the end, they realized they weren't just fixing machines. They were fixing each other. Together. Forever.